All right, hi there. Welcome to Physiological Psychology, PSB 3002, 26 summer. I'm going to read the code there on the screen. Sorry. Uh, that's me right there, the name under there, Daniel McConnell. I'll be your professor for this course. I'm going to make a quick little video here, try to keep it pretty brief. I don't think I have a lot of complicated things I need to say in this video, but I just want to do a quick little rundown through the syllabus and a little guided tour through the web courses environment. Hopefully, it's all pretty straightforward. But we'll consider this a virtual syllabus day for the start of the summer session here. Maybe the course is not 100% done. Let's call it 99% done, but everything that you need to even think about for the first couple of weeks is all set at least. I'm going to click view as student here so that everything that's on the screen might be a little small there, but hopefully you follow along. Looks the same anyway as what it does for you. I'm on the home page and there's nothing there to see except for my name and the course name and a little link for resources, which is basically a bunch of stuff you probably don't care about. I just collected some things about some online resources about the brain and nervous systems and other physiological topics. You can mess around in there if you want. But nothing critical is in there. More important is going to the modules and, of course, the syllabus and other things. So let's have a look here. And when we get into the modules, there's a module at the top that's labeled syllabus that is actually not the syllabus, right? Simple syllabus is where you're going to go for that. And I'll get in there in a second. Instead, there's a link here to the week one academic activity quiz. And so that's just what the registrar requires, that in the first week you have to get in here and say, yes, I'm here, right? So that there's 2 points put into the grade book. And that's extra credit. So do it for the free points. It might even end up being worth more later. Once I look at the final grades at the end of the summer term, I might bump that up a little bit. But for now, 2 free points, and bonus is that the registrar knows you're really here, which is for some reason important. And but in addition to that, by the time you see this, you're also going to see a link to this video. So hopefully you're watching this video, you click that link. But below that, we have the unit module. So this is a 6-week summer course, and that means I'm dividing it into three 2-week long units. And so within each one of those units, we're going to cover a set of chapters from your textbook. And there's going to be lectures that go along with those. I like to expand quite a bit and have my own kind of spin on things, um, and even talk about some things that are not in the book as well. And so between those two things, reading the book and watching these lectures, you're going to have all of the information that you need to learn everything you ever wanted to learn, hopefully, about physiological psychology. You're going to have quizzes. Those are 100% coming right out of that textbook. So read those chapters, take those quizzes. Then we're going to have the exams. And the exams, on the other hand, are more aligned to what I'm covering in the lectures. Critical difference there really is that for those quizzes, I'm using the questions that came with the book from the publisher. But for the exams, I have generated my own questions that I don't look at the book when I'm writing those questions, right? I'm looking at my notes in the PowerPoints and what I've covered in these lectures. So that's how you're going to want to best prepare for those. So within the first module, as you can see here, we have all of that content except for the book. Over here in the left-hand navigation menu, you can see course materials. And if you click on that, I'm going to go ahead and click on that and see what happens. Haven't done that yet. So this is an experiment. But it should open up the Barnes& and Noble website. And there it is. It shows us for PSB 3002, 26 Summer A061. That's us. Introduction to Brain and Behavior. I think I don't, maybe 7th edition. That's what I remember. By Kolb and Wishaw. That's Macmillan Worth Publishers, I think, right? Um, but if you opt into the first day program, you should be able to access that course, that textbook right from that link from course materials. On the other hand, if you just buy the book online, right, just get that 7th edition Colbin Wishaw book. You want a print copy, you can probably order one somewhere. Kind of cheap, probably, I bet. Anyway, Unit 1 module, you're going to see that we have the Chapter 1 PowerPoints as the first link. So those are the PowerPoints that I'm going over in these videos. And then right below that are links to the videos. This links out to YouTube. That's convenient for captioning purposes. So that's where I put them. So you've got Chapter 1, Part 1, and Part 2. And then there's a quiz. Keep in mind, again, like I said, the quiz is based off of the textbook. You don't have to watch the video to be able to take that quiz. So I really recommend that you read the textbook chapters first, maybe do that quiz, and then go watch the videos as you have already kind of maybe digested the material from the book, and then that'll give you maybe some background for what to expect when I'm covering things in the lecture videos. Um, and it goes on like that. We have the chapter 2 PowerPoints, and then the chapter 2 videos. There's three parts for that, and then a quiz. And then chapter 3, there's just one link for the video, and same for chapter 4. Chapter 5 has two links. And then at the very bottom of this is a link to the first exam. As I had mentioned, we're going to have exams for each one of these units. So that exam covers the material in those lectures for those first 5 chapters. And then it looks like the same thing from there on out, right? So here is the Unit 2 module, and we have some chapters and some videos. Now, this is where, as I said, the course is 99% done. You notice perhaps that there's no link to a Chapter 8 video here, and that's because I recently updated a lot of the content in that particular set of notes, so I need to remake that video so that we have that content in the video as well as what's in the PowerPoints. But the rest of the module content is in there, right? All the PowerPoints and all the quizzes in the Unit 2 exam that covers just those chapters from 6 through 10, right? And likewise for the Unit 3 module, again, we've got all these chapters. We've got 4 parts to the Chapter 11 recording there. Again, Chapter 15 and Chapter 15 videos, those are also some notes that I heavily updated recently, so I need to remake those videos, so stay tuned for that. So like I said, everything you need for at least the first 2 weeks, which is that first unit, it's all done, it's ready to go. So as far as what you need to be concerned about, you can go ahead and get started reading the book, watch the videos, take the quizzes, get ready for that first exam. And by the time we get around to the end of that first unit, all of these videos that are needed will be done. What's down here at the bottom is another module, journal articles for fun. What's all of this about? Well, I kind of literally mean for fun. And what's going on here is that sometimes I might assign these papers in different classes, maybe like an honor section or whatever. And I decided that rather than just deleting this module, I would just leave it there, but change the title for fun reading. So there's no assignment that you need to be using these for. But I just happen to think that there can be no harm in saying that here's some interesting research that you might want to learn about. So feel free to poke around in this list of journal articles and see if there's some interesting research that you might be interested in reading and learning about. These are all topics that are related to the course in one way or another. They're all basically research studies in physiological psychology. So some of them are by UCF researchers, actually. And so you might maybe recognize a couple of familiar professors that you've had in this list. At least one, I think. Maybe I thought there were more, but maybe at least there's one. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up here and then let's go into the syllabus because we need to talk about that before we wrap it up here. Come on and load. There we go. Couple of things. I'm not going to read the whole syllabus to you. There I am. Office hours, Monday and Thursday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. That's largely going to be Zoom. I've got the Zoom link right below, and we're online, so don't expect that you're necessarily going to be on campus, but I think in the majority of cases, I will be in my office for these office hours. So if you happen to be on or near campus and want to come around to PSY 356, that's my office location, then yeah, you can find me there. But otherwise, just hop on the Zoom and I'll have it open. and we can talk about whatever it is you need to talk about here. TAs, I'll update that once everything's finalized here, which is probably pretty soon. Course description, all this stuff, you can read all of that. I've already talked about the book, right? Colbin with Shaw and Teskey. They added a third author there, right? It's seventh edition. Here's our grading scale, pretty straightforward, 90, 80, 70, 60 breakdown for A, B, C, D, F, no pluses and minuses. Somewhere in all of this text, it also mentions that I round up. So an 89.5 will round up to an A, 79.5 rounds up to a B, and so forth. Here's where the grade comes from. We have, as I already showed you in the modules, 3 exams corresponding to each of those 3 units, covering only the chapters in those units. Those are 60 questions apiece, which makes them 2 points per question. So that gives us 120 points for each exam. If we add that up, that's 360. We have the 15 chapters that we cover across all of those 3 units. And there's a quiz for each one of those. So there's 15 chapter quizzes, we'll call them. And we're going to drop the 3 lowest ones. And by doing that, that will mean that the best 12 quiz scores count towards your grade, and they're worth 20 points each. There are 10 multiple choice questions on the quiz. By the way, you get 2 tries on those, and the highest score is the one that we keep. And we're dropping 3 primarily. Why? Nice round number, I guess, because when we have 12 times 20, we get 240, and adding that to our 360 from the exams gives us a nice round 600 point total. But also, it's a 6-week summer class. Things are going to go by quickly. So I'll give you a little bit of leeway there in case you don't get all the quizzes done every single time, at least in the case of 3 quizzes, that if you say you don't get them done and you get a 0, as long as you don't do that more than 3 times, then those zeros have no impact on your grade. They just get dropped. Right? More policies in here about engagement and attendance, not really because we're an online class, but it is more about just the engagement and so forth, and makeup. So just read all of this stuff here. Some of it's university boilerplate. Here's another breakdown on the assignment. So again, 3 exams, 60 questions. 80-minute timer, that's important. We're not using the Respondus lockdown browser here, but you do need to be mindful of the timer. So just as soon as you hit start on that exam, the timer does not stop, right? So you have to make sure you complete the whole thing in one uninterrupted 80-minute session, right? Exams, can't make them up, as noted there, unless you have some documentation. There's also a rule also somewhere above that I scrolled past that if you do miss any assignment and are going to request a makeup, that you need to do so within 72 hours of the missed deadline. Again, there's more information there about the chapter quizzes. We got 15 of them. Get 2 tries, the lowest 3 are dropped. Here's all the deadlines. So here's the structure of the term. Now, this is an asynchronous course, so the structure is more of a kind of a suggestion, but I really want to emphasize that you should follow this, I think. So it's a little weird. We start on a Wednesday. I find this annoying, right? We should start on a Monday, right? But we're starting on a Wednesday for reasons. And so the first deadline is coming up really, really quickly on Friday, 5:15. So 2 days after we start, right? That week 1 academic activity quiz, you should do that by Friday the 15th at 5 p.m. But that doesn't take more than 5 seconds to do it, right? Just click it, say it's a true false question, and the true means yes, I'm here, and that's going to give you those 2 points. So just do that. Now it doesn't close on that Friday, so it'll stay open, but you should do it, right? Just get it done, right? And we'll move on from that. Now, as we kind of move forward, so what I would, kind of recommend here is that in this first week or half week that we get started here on after Wednesday the 13th, get started reading the book, right? Chapters 1 and 2. You can start doing those quizzes. And then as we move into the second week, we're going to then keep on going with chapters 3, 4, and 5. All of the quizzes are due at the end of the week on Friday the 22nd there. Now that seems like a lot of stuff I'll do on one day, but the mantra, of course, is that the due date is not the due date, meaning the due date DUE is not the DO due date, right? So don't do them all on the 22nd. Spread it out, right? So when you're reading these first couple of chapters in the first half week or so of this of the summer term, go ahead and get those first two chapter quizzes done. And then as we move into that second week, um, then you can start reading chapters 3 through 5 and do those quizzes. And then once you've done that, of course, as you're going through this, watch those lectures because of course as we then have that first exam due on Sunday the 24th, right? So 2 days after the quizzes are all due, the exam is due. And you get a little more than just the weekend to do the exam. So the exam's going to open up. If we go into quizzes, let's do that real quick here. So let me open up quizzes. This is where everything lives, the quizzes, the chapter quizzes and the exams. Um, it says here that the first exam is due on May 24th, right? But it is not available until May 19th. So that's the day it opens. So you're going to get several days to be able to pick, right, when you feel you're ready for the exam. So tendency, of course, that everyone waits till late on Sunday night before they try the exam, which, fine, but obviously there are things that go wrong. So my recommendation is work, work ahead and work quickly through this first 5 chapters, read and do the quizzes. And that way, if you get all of that stuff done, even before the 22nd on Friday, you get all the readings and all the quizzes done and all the videos watched. You've got a couple of days to review all of that. So that maybe on Thursday or Friday or Saturday in advance of that Sunday deadline, you'll be able to take the exam then, right? Obviously, you figure out how it's going to work best for you. These are just my recommendations. Same thing then continues on as we get into weeks 3 and 4. These are the 2 weeks now dedicated to the second unit. And so we're going to cover chapters 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Spread that out as best as you can. But then, of course, make sure that all of the quizzes are done at least by Friday, 6/5, and then the exam due the Sunday, 6/7, and then once more. In the last unit, we're going to have chapters 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We got all those quizzes due on 6/19. Spread it out. And then just to make things extra confusing, we have the third exam now due. And again, that's Unit 3 exam, so it only covers those last chapters there, 11 through 15. It's due on Monday, 6/22. Why is that? Mainly because we do have extra time, right? The summer term continues on for a little bit there. So you can spend some extra time in that last week there to get ready for that third exam as you feel the need to. So we'll keep that going. Just an extra day there. The rest of the syllabus, I think, is just stuff to read. So this is just an auto-populated list of links to the assignments, policies. Some of them are mine, some of them are UCF inserted things into the syllabus. So just read all of that. And I guess that's essentially all that there is that I needed to tell you. So I'll go ahead and sign it off here. But one last thing. If you ever have questions, let me know. Come to the office hours. Send me an inbox message in Canvas. If you're gonna send me a message, an email, it's preferable that you use the Canvas inbox instead of my email address. That's also in the syllabus. You can use both, but I tend to be just a little more efficient and on top of things when all class-related messages are kept inside of Canvas. So, all right. Well, that is it. Best of luck. Again, let me know if you have questions.